I knew a boy that after he received his first communion, that he went home and he put a little sheet on the refrigerator right at about his height. And every time he would go to Mass and receive his first communion, he would go and check it off there, another one. So he was counting how many times he had received communion. And when he got to his 100th communion, he had another party. So it was kind of like a way for him to celebrate it all over once again. So boys and girls, maybe when you go home today, you can go ahead and put a sheet on the refrigerator and start checking off every time you receive communion. And it'll take about 2 years, I hope. It'll take about 2 years, because that would be about 100, more or less, a little less than 2 years. Now, if you're in the school, you might receive a little bit more often, but, about 2 years, more or less. And then you can have another celebration when you receive your 100th communion. And it was nice to be able to kind of re-celebrate all over again that this boy, I went to the party actually for the 100th, that he was celebrating all the times that he had received Christ, that he had received the real presence of Christ. And it's also a wonderful message, because whether it is our first communion, our 100th communion, or our 5,000th communion, it does not matter. Each one is unique. And each one is precious because our relationship with God is strengthened in that particular moment. Actually, back in the sacristy, we have a nice wall hanging, something that is framed. And it's written in calligraphy. It says, "Priest of God, say this Mass as if it were your first Mass, as if it were your last Mass, as if it were your only Mass." And so for ourselves, each one of us, not just as priests, but as people, when we attend Mass, when we receive the Eucharist, we should do so as if it were the first time with wonder and awe, as if it were the last time with a grateful heart, maybe as if it were the only time with a sense of eagerness to be able to deepen our relationship with God. Our gospel reading today has another beautiful I am statement. So I thought maybe I would ask the boys and girls, maybe you could tell me, what did Jesus say that he was? He said, I am Pearson. Why don't you tell me? I am the vine. Very good. He said, I am the vine. And then he said, you are, let me think, what did he say to everybody else? You are the branches. Wonderful. So Jesus is the vine. We are the branches. That means each one of us, that's a pretty big vine. Has to be a pretty strong vine too, that's rooted in a solid foundation. Because in order for that vine to grow and to grow, it has to be able to have good roots. Those roots are in God the Father. Because he said, my Father is the vine grower. I am the vine, you are the branches. So each one of us are connected. Each one of us are connected to the Almighty. For instance, when I stand before you week after week, and I say, may we meet each day in our prayers, that's really our chance, my friends, to realize that we are a family. We are a family that is in relationship with one another. Not only in a relationship with God, but because of our common belief in Jesus Christ, in God the Father, in the Holy Spirit, in the Holy Catholic Church, which in just a few moments we are going to profess our faith, to be able to answer the questions of our baptism. And so it's all about the gift of being together in relationship with God. We are united as people in God. And we have more in common as people than we do differences. Even if we speak a different language, even if we maybe have hair that looks a little bit different, or we wear different type of clothing, as people we are all connected because of our common relationship with God. It's a very beautiful thought, because today as we celebrate First Eucharist with the children, It's a chance for us to realize that they are becoming more connected as they grow up. For each one of us, every time that we receive communion, it's a deeper connection with the Almighty, a deeper relationship with God, with one another as well. So when we take the simple elements of bread and wine, we bless and consecrate them. And then they become the body and blood of Christ. It's not just simple elements of bread and wine any longer. It's the body and blood of Christ. So the wine may look like wine, taste like wine, smell like wine, but it's not just wine after it's been blessed. After it's been blessed, it becomes the real presence of Christ here on this altar, right here in this very special place. So really, when we take the beauty of the wine, which, by the way, we might want to think about today, because the vine produces grapes. The grapes are processed and they become wine. The wine is blessed and consecrated and becomes the most precious blood. So a beautiful thought for us today is this gospel brings us together in relationship with one another. That means that when we are joyful, we celebrate with others who are joyful. When we have sadnesses, we celebrate and we unify them with other people's sufferings to know we are not alone. And maybe if we're having just a pretty average type of day, because we are in relationship and connected to one another, we're in communion with all others who are feeling that same way. So today, as we celebrate the children's first communion, it's also our chance to give thanks to God for the gift of being a part of his family. We welcome the children to a deeper relationship, a deeper level of family. And boys and girls, on the day of your baptism, when you became a part of God's family, your parents spoke for you. But today, you're able to speak for yourselves. You each have a voice. I know that. Some of you have beautiful voices because you're singers, and I'm sure you can yell and scream and do all kinds of great things. So today, we are going to ask you to speak for yourself. That when your name is called, I want you to stand up, and I want you to say, "Here I am, Lord." Can you do that, Jose?
Here I am, Lord.
When your name is called. Okay, great. You're good. That's good, but you're practicing. That's how we want to hear it, though, so thank you very much. So in just a moment here, Edwin, our seminarian, is going to call your names, and when your name is called, you will stand up and say, "Here I am, Lord." And then you're going to come up and put your hands on the altar, because that's that place where those elements of bread and wine become the body and blood of Christ. So we celebrate that. We celebrate the fact that they're in that spot. You get to touch it today. They're on the sacred and holy altar. And then we will renew, all of us, our baptismal promises.